Hey everybody, it is Tuesday, October 21st, 2014. I want to talk a little bit today about criticizing religion and criticizing religious ideas. Now, people often criticize Christianity, and some of this takes the form of just, Christianity is stupid and therefore, you shouldn't believe it. And some of it is political in nature. Now, when atheists just dismiss Christianity as ridiculous, that is not really political in any way. That's just saying, that's just dismissing it and saying, you're ridiculous, we don't believe you. So, that has no political connotations. It's just a diss, and it doesn't do anything to encourage Christians to act one way or another. It's not going to encourage them to give up their religion. That has to come from them. It doesn't come from outside. It's not going to encourage them to be either violent or peaceful, progressive or regressive, modernist or traditionalist. There's no political import there. It's just your religion is ridiculous and I don't believe it. And then they're going to say the same thing about you. They're just going to say, la 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 la, I can't hear you. That's going to be the response. Now, with these new atheists like Sam Harris and Bill Maher, the stand-up comedian with zero knowledge of the Islamic world, Sam Harris, the neuroscientist with zero knowledge of the Islamic world or Islam in general. And there are other people who support these guys. I noticed that David Pakman supports these guys. He's supposed to be a progressive. He presents himself as a progressive, but he, I know that he's a big supporter of the state of Israel, which is a ethnic state, an apartheid state, which is engaging in massive ethnic cleansing as we speak, ongoing ethnic cleansing, which defines citizenship based on your ethnicity or your genetic makeup, which has an ugly triple-tiered system of apartheid, denying people that it rules over any sort of human rights or human dignity in the West Bank and in Gaza, openly waging war on these people and imprisoning them because of their ethnicity. David Pakman supports all of that unquestioningly. And when I asked him if he had read books by Max Blumenthal and Ali Abunimah, Abunimah calls for a democratic single-state solution in all of Palestine, where everyone has equal rights. Max Blumenthal chronicled radical, extreme, racist, right-wing ideology just taking over the public spaces in Israel, with leftists being beaten and driven out of public spaces, harassed and followed, threatened and, really savagely beaten by right-wing thugs who have the support of the police and the popular politicians and the state, who are in effect acting out the ethos of the state itself, which is to enforce ethnic purity through violence. That's what Max Blumenthal's book was about. And David Pakman, he emailed me and told me that he had read those books and that he thought they were one-sided at best. And he basically dismissed them. And he would not argue with me about it. He wouldn't explain his position. And then just last week he was on the majority report, so I am the show, and I asked him if he stood by those positions, and he said he didn't know what those books were, that he'd never read them and didn't know anything about them. So one of those times he was lying. He contradicted himself. And, didn't really want to explain his views at all, but just wanted to laugh it off and pretend like he had no idea what I was talking about. Now, he's in that camp, too, of these people that are, criticizing Islam. And isn't that a big coinkydink? He's criticizing Islam, and he just happens to be a big fan of the state that is destroying Muslims right now, trying to obliterate their society and build this amalgam of European values and fictional biblical constructs on top of it. In an Arab country, just get rid of the Arabs, put this fictionalized, Europeanized version of biblical fables, and just there you go. And so the people that this project is targeting, that our government is also targeting for a lot of different reasons, he thinks that Sam Harris, who has called for a nuclear first strike against the entire Middle East, and Bill Maher, he thinks it's totally okay when people just dismiss all Muslims in the world. And they're saying that when they say, hey, look at these bad verses in the Quran, you know what that means. Or, hey, look at these poll results, you know what that means. That's them critiquing religion and debating religious ideas. But see, the funny thing is, no religion really ever came up. All they did was quote a verse of the Quran without any explanation or argument and just say, see, look at that. That's what those guys believe. Or quote some poll result from one particular country and say, see, look how horrible these people are. And to them, that's some kind of scholarly debate. But they're not interested in the other side of that debate, funny enough. They're not interested in talking about the things that don't back up their assertions, or the things that aren't, convenient for their narrative. They don't want to talk about poll results that didn't go their way. They don't want to talk about peaceful versus the Quran. That's off limits. They don't want to hear about it. That doesn't count. Literally. That's what they'll tell you. It doesn't count. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that these bad verses exist and these poll results exist, and therefore these people are bad. And oh, by the way, there's these wars and there's these ethnic cleansing operations that we just happen to be in favor of. And we are progressives. So we're just saying, since these people aren't as up on women's rights, according to us, because of this verse in their holy book that we saw, it's totally okay to bomb them into the Stone Age and to ethnically cleanse them, to conduct a nuclear first strike against them and wipe them off the face of the earth, because that's feminism. That's being a progressive. That's gay rights. See how that works? And it doesn't matter that they're actually exterminating a lot of women and gay people. That doesn't ever come up. Okay. I mean, Palestinians don't get to sign off on a little card and say that they're a woman or that they're gay and escape the slaughter. And nobody gets to escape the Saudi royal family that we support by saying that they're a woman or that they're gay either. In fact, they are pretty repressive against those people, and we support them. So, basically, I guess what they're, if you were to transpose this over to Christianity, if you really want to critique Christianity, what you do is you talk about the religion. And you say, let's say you're in a Baptist church and you want to critique religion, and you actually have a real political agenda and not just demonizing people and bad-mouthing people. What would you say? You'd say, well, you guys have this vision of Jesus that's really warlike and intolerant, that doesn't like gay people and all this. Well, I think that according to Christianity, that gay people are okay. That the Bible doesn't really demonize gay people except in one part of the Old Testament. And that's just, really the Old Testament. It's not really mentioned in the New Testament. And I believe that Jesus taught to be peaceful and tolerant. I believe that, when Jesus talked about war, he didn't really mean that, you should go out and hurt people for no reason. He meant it only in certain very specific circumstances, that in most circumstances he advocated peace. You wouldn't just say, well, your religion is evil and therefore you have to give it up, or you're an evil person. Now, just think about it. If you go into a Christian church and you give the message of interpreting their religion in a way that you are, find politically acceptable, that other members of the religion agree with, and you could say, hey, this church agrees that Christianity is peaceful. This church agrees, according to these scholars, my view is valid. So maybe it's okay to think of Christianity as a pacifist religion instead of as a, militant proselytizing religion that goes and converts or kills people. Maybe you should rethink your position and be Christians in the sense that you're peaceful. You don't say, give up your religion, you're all evil because of this verse in the Bible. Now, stop being Christians, or we're going to bomb you. Because, that's just being crazy. That would not possibly convince anybody. You could give that message to 1 billion people and not one of them would be affected by it. They'd all just dismiss you. And they just say, screw you, I'm not giving up my religion. No matter what it is. Even if they basically agreed with you. Because you didn't even tell them what you believe in the first place. You just badmouthed them. And you didn't give them any alternatives. You didn't give them an alternate interpretation of their religion. So when Sam Harris and Bill Maher and their supporters like David Pakman, who pretends to be a progressive, all these people, they come up and tell Muslims, look at these poll results, look at these verses. Yeah, see, look at you. That's not a message. That's not even intended for Muslims. They're not even talking to Muslims. They're not debating religion with Muslims. They're just telling you to go kill them. That's the message. They don't have to say it. It's implicit. If they were really criticizing Islam, they'd say, all of these sects of Islam believe like this. There are all these verses by Muhammad that encourage peacefulness. There's a verse about not pushing your religion on people. Maybe that's more important than your other verses over here that seem to be advocating violence. Maybe you should have a different interpretation. Maybe being a Muslim, since Muslims were the first to give women's rights, maybe being a Muslim is to be on the forefront of women's rights and not trying to hold it back. Maybe being a Muslim is still about science the way it used to be. Maybe all of these fundamentalists and radicals are wrong in their interpretation because they're taking it back, whereas throughout history it has been moving forward. And it wasn't very far, but that's because back then everybody else was so far behind. But in relation to the other religions, it was extremely progressive, and it should be progressive. So that's what being a Muslim means. No, that's not what they're saying. They would never even think about that. All they're saying is poll results, bad verses. You know what to do. That's not criticizing religion. That's just pushing hate. David Packman. Dummy. Okay, I thought you were smart or something. Boy, was I wrong. Thanks for watching.